brilliant speakers as well. I will introduce them to you as their speech begins. But I request them, Professor Tridib Roy and Arunim Roy. They are two Roys. Roy is a very common Bengali title, the last name. So both of them are coincidentally Roys. So I request them both to come forward. I think, yes, we first will have an opening song, and then they will be coming forward to sit. Are we ready, Arunim, for the opening song? Huh? We have the printout. Now we will have to just set the stage. Our other musicians for this, please come forward. Abhijit Adak, Tapos Talukdar, Abhijit Sarkar, Rahul and Sapna. Again Roys, you know. So this program is dominated by Roys, you see. Right. This particular song was written by a brother disciple of Swami Vivekananda, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Abhedananda, who actually spent about 23-24 years in United States as the head of the Vedanta Society of New York, which was the first center of Ramakrishna mission started here in United States, Vedanta Society of New York, and it still functions with that great grandeur. So it is now the places kept on shifting, but the center remained the same. It was one of the two Vedanta centers which were started by Swami Vivekananda himself while he was alive. So Swami Abhedananda was appointed by him to carry on the work when he left for India. And Swami Abhedananda was there for about 20 plus years. He was a very fiery speaker, and complete works of Swami Abhedananda are more voluminous than Swami Vivekananda's complete works, and you can see the tremendous depth of his learning. And this song he wrote in Bengali about Vivekananda gives many wonderful facets of Swamiji's life. The song will be displayed here, and the meaning is also given there. So please, those of you who know, please feel free to join in singing. Moder Vivekananda Tumi Vishya Vivekananda. My Vivekananda, but you are the Vivekananda of the whole universe. That universal dimension of Vivekananda that makes us remember him all over the world, in all different places. And that is where that universality of his message comes into picture. That he was the one who broadcast the message eternal of the Vedantic truths, which are not confined to any particular cultural background or the ethnic background. Whosoever, wherever a person may be, that person is divine, and that divinity has to be manifested. As you see, one of his greatest message, as it is written here, religion is the manifestation of divinity already in man. So, this was a message that was very powerfully delivered by him, by his life and by his words. So today we shall ponder over his life and message. I request now Professor Tridib Roy and Arunim Roy both to come forward, and first I will request Arunim to give his speech. Arunim Roy has been with the Ramakrishna mission since his childhood, and has been studying Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda, and he is a powerful speaker. He had spoken from this platform before also. Once I remember he spoke on Holy Mother. That was a very nice speech that he had given. He had spoken on other occasions also, and so I requested him this time that please come to give a short talk in the Symposium on Swami Vivekananda, and he very kindly accepted. So I request him to begin his talk.
Thank you, Swamiji. Namah Shri Atirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. I bow down to Vivekananda, who is the king of the sannyasins and the embodiment of existence, knowledge, bliss absolute, and removes the torment of the world. Good evening, everyone. I guess we have all heard enough in the news about walls. So today, I intend to talk about bridges. We all know what a bridge is. It helps us traverse over a deep gorge or obstacles like a turbulent river. It gives us a means to connect those which are seemingly disjoint. The bridge we are going to talk about fits all of these definitions and much more. Mundaka Upanishad says, "In him are woven heaven, earth, and the space between, and the mind with all the sense organs. He is the bridge to immortality. Amritasya setu." The end of the 19th century saw the advent of such a monumental bridge. Swami Vivekananda arrived on the world stage as a global teacher. His life's mission, it seems, was to join, to bring harmony, to synthesize, be it between different religions, between East and the West, between science and religion, and finally transport us from our lower selves to our higher true self, taking us far above the trials and tribulations of our lives. And this he did till his last breath in his physical body, and continues to do so through his writing, through his stirring speeches and teachings. We will try to briefly explore each of these aspects that I mentioned. But before we move on, it is very pertinent to call out that Vivekananda and his guru, Thakur Sri Ramakrishna, are not really different. As a renowned leader of India's freedom movement put it, Vivekananda is indissolubly bound up with his master, Paramahansa Ramakrishna. The two stand almost organically bound up, so far as the modern man is concerned. The modern man can only understand Paramahansa in and through Vivekananda, and Vivekananda can be understood only in the light of his master. So when we explore these various aspects, keep in mind that while Swamiji may be the injection syringe that delivers the medicine, but the medicine itself is all Thakur. So let us explore the first aspect that we spoke about, the synthesis of different religion. Thakur used to say, "Joto mot, toto pot." And in his very first speech in the Parliament of Religions in Chicago, Swamiji also alluded to his master's teachings when he quoted this hymn: "As the different streams, having their sources in different paths, which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee." Once a Jewish gentleman told Swami Nikhilananda that while all speakers represented their respective religions, Vivekananda was an exception. Only this young man, meaning Swamiji, when he got up to speak, he spoke on the behalf of all the religions of the world. Swamiji spoke about accepting all religions as true, not merely tolerating them. He wanted universal acceptance, as he had experienced it in and through Thakur's life and teachings. And at the same time, he stressed that in doing so, one must not lose self-identity, but assimilate what is good. And in his final address from the same venue, he cautioned, "If anybody dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and destruction of others, I pity him from the bottom of my heart, and point out to him that upon the banner of every religion will soon be written, in spite of resistance, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension." Thus we see how Vivekananda brought a non-conflicting views of the various religion, which is the actual realization. Moving on to the second aspect, the role that Swamiji played in harmonizing East and the West. When leaving the shores of India for his first visit to America, Swamiji had just one thought in his mind, that was upliftment of his fellow beings. Thakur had scolded him once for seeking his own personal liberation and asked him to become this big banyan tree under which all the weary travelers of the life will find solace. And after traveling the length and breadth of India, he understood that. Swami Swarupanandaji writes, "To Vivekananda, the inner God started limping outside, soaked in poverty, squalor, and degradation of all descriptions. He was pushed out to America, and a new vision was revealed to him, and humanity which he saw many times in his guru, and yet observed it not. while he started with the notion of getting help for his motherland, when he reached the West, he saw the spiritual hunger that plagued many under the covers of the materially rich and often luxurious lifestyle. He realized that another dimension of his mission. He saw that a confluence of the spirituality of the East and the organizing prowess and the material well-being of the West was what was required for an ideal society. And over the next remaining time of his life, he tirelessly toiled for that. In an address in Kolkata, he said, "Give and take is the law, and if India wants to raise herself once more, it is absolutely necessary that she brings out her treasures and throws them broadcast among the nations of the earth, and in return be ready to receive what others have to give us. Expansion is life, contraction is death, love is life, and hatred is death. And we commenced to die the day we began to hate other races, and nothing can prevent our death unless we come back to expansion, which is life. We must mix, therefore, with all races of the earth." Swami Chaitanananda, in one of his lectures, mentions Rabindranath Tagore made a great remark on Vivekananda when he said that the great soul rose, keeping the east to his right and the west to his left, and himself standing in between. To accept, to mingle, to create was verily Vivekananda's genius. He sacrificed his life to open up a communication line through which the achievements of India may be given to the West and the achievements of the West may be accepted by India. Let's move on to the third aspect that we mentioned, joining science and religion. Swamiji never believed in anything without verifying it himself. Thakur, Sri Ramakrishna, his guru, always encouraged him doing the same as well. So there was always this scientific temper in his approach towards religion. In one of his talks, he mentions, experience is the only source of knowledge. In the world, religion is the only science where there is no surety, because it is not taught as a science of experience. This should not be. Therefore, there is always, however, a small group of men who teach religion from experience. They are called the mystics. And these mystics in every religion speak the same tongue and teach the same truth. This is the real science of religion. As mathematics in every part of the world does not differ, so the mystics do not differ. They are all similarly constituted and similarly situated. Their experience is the same, and this becomes the law. And as all science has its particular methods, so has the science of religion. It has more methods also, because it has more material to work on. According to the different nature, there must be different methods. As some sense predominates in a person, one person will see most, another will hear most. So there is a predominant mental sense. Through this gate must each reach his own mind. Yet, through all minds runs a unity. There is a science which may be applied to all. This science of religion is based on the analysis of the human soul. It has no creed. Thus, Swamiji showed that science and religions are not mutually exclusive, rather complementary. You can be scientific and religious at the same time. What is referred to at a sensory level as science, at a supersensory level, it is religion, as Swami Ranganathanandaji once put it. The final aspect that I would like to dwell upon is Swamiji as a means of a connection or a transition from our lower self to higher self. While a lot can be said on this, but specifically there are few points that I really like and I would like to call out on the roadmap that Swamiji actually put together for us. First, he wanted us to have self-belief and physical strength. He famously proclaimed, the old religions said that he was an atheist who does not believe in God. The new religion says that he is an atheist who does not believe in himself. Further, he said, our young men must be strong. Religion will come afterwards. Be strong, my young friends. That is my advice to you. You would be nearer to heaven through football than through the study of the Gita. What bold words. Secondly, he did not disparage anyone, refuse to call anyone a sinner. He wanted us to start the journey from where we are, to reach our true nature, calling on men as Amritasya Putraha, children of immortal bliss. He said, man is not traveling from error to truth, but from truth to truth, from lower to the higher truth. To him, all the religions means so many attempts of the human soul to grasp and realize the infinite, each determined by the conditions of his birth and association, and each of these marks a stage of the progress, and each soul and every soul is a young eagle soaring higher and higher, gathering more and more strength till it reaches the glorious sun. In his famous lecture, The Open Secret, delivered in Los Angeles, Swamiji had said, who is great and who is small? It's past finding out. And why? Because none is great and none is small. All things are interpenetrated by that infinite ocean. Their reality is that infinite. The tree is infinite, so is everything that you see or feel. Every grain of sand, every thought, every soul, everything that exists is infinite. This is our existence. Therefore, there is hope for all. None can die. None can be degraded forever. Life is but a playground. However cross the play may be, however we may receive the blows, and however knocked out we may be, the soul is there and is never injured. Thus, a Vedantin sang, I never had a fear nor doubt. Death never came to me. I never had father or mother, for I was never born. Where are my foes? For I am all. I am the existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. I am it. I am it. Anger, lust, and jealousy, evil thoughts, and all these things never came to me, for I am the existence, the knowledge, the bliss absolute. I am it. I am it. Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. He wanted us to become fearless by knowing who we really are. He said, let us drink this cup that leads to everything that is immortal, everything that is unchangeable. Fear not. It is my fervent prayer that in this world of today, when we are plagued with so much doubt, so much hatred, we can all hold the rails of this bridge that is Swami Vivekananda and keep traveling to reach new vistas where true freedom, where true peace, and where true harmony rule, and where we are closer to the glorious sun that Swamiji himself wanted us to reach, our true selves. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Arunim. That was a very powerfully delivered message of Swami Vivekananda. Now we will listen from Professor Tridib Roy. He was professor, he still is professor, but retired. So it is He was at University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and a deep student of the literature of Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna, and all the associated things. So he had also spoken here a few times. Today, I requested him to speak about Sister Nivedita, as it is said that a teacher lives through the disciples. The disciples continue to manifest the teachings of the teacher. So, one very prominent and in a way symbolic disciple of Swami Vivekananda was Sister Nivedita, Margaret Noble, an Irish lady who followed Vivekananda and his teachings, and is considered, that the message of Swami Vivekananda was thoroughly imbibed by her. That is why when Swami Vivekananda's complete works were getting published, she was requested to write the preface or the introduction for that complete works of Swami Vivekananda. I request Professor Roy to speak about this.
Thank you, Swamiji, for this nice introduction. And I also thank Arunim for giving such a beautiful lecture on Swami Vivekananda's teaching, which primarily is the reason that we are here today. But I am going to talk on Sister Nivedita, how she imbibed all the teachings of Swami Vivekananda and how she used them for the benefit of humanity and particularly for India. So, as Swamiji mentioned, I was a speaker here. When was that? Last year, not last year, I think it was the 150th birth anniversary of Sister Nivedita, around October, November. So I'm going to talk primarily on Sister Nivedita, who was the disciple. As you know, Swami Vivekananda was such a great personality that whoever he came in contact with, their lives were changed for the good forever. So this you have seen. And this is the characteristics of any great personality. And that's why all the time we talk about satsang. Why? Because if you come in contact with a great person, you are going to get some effect of that into your life. So satsang is a very important thing that we talk about. And when we do the satsang in our places, here in the temple, also we do once a year in my place, where we celebrate the birth anniversary of Sri M. We have found how he emphasized the need of satsang, and Thakur always did that. And anyway, Arunim did a very, very nice job on Swamiji's teachings, and I think you did some of my work in the sense of that part already done, Swamiji's part. So I'm going to mainly concentrate on Sister Nivedita, who was the disciple of Swami Vivekananda. As you know, if you read Swamiji's lectures or his writings, you will find he has very clearly said that from the Upanishads, from all the pages, one word just shouts at him, Avi, Avi. That Arunim also mentioned. Avi means be fearless, fear not. That particular word, when I was also growing up as a teenager or something, I found that that word has so much power that when you are in doubt or you are just thinking about what am I going to do, that single word, Abhi, be fearless. And that one single word can build your life. Just be fearless. Be fearless. Nothing to fear. So that particular characteristics, I think I found the Sister Nivedita had so much in herself. And so you probably know the background, the Irish lady and all those things, and which we don't want to repeat at this time because Sister Nivedita's birth anniversary we can celebrate. We know she was born on 28th October 1867, born in Dungannon, Northern Ireland, so born of Irish parents. And these Irish parents, the father was a priest, and mother was Mary Isabel Noble. She was a great follower of the Christian religion, Protestant. So she grew up in that family. But another thing that in which Margaret Noble grew up is the influence of her grandfather, Hamilton. He was also a priest, but also a very big revolutionary for home rule of the Irish people. So all these things that came into her life also because when he used to go for Sunday lectures in the church, he would take the granddaughter with him. She was hardly a small girl, like 5, 6, 7 years old, but she used to be there, and she imbibed some of the thinking and the thoughts, the way to present your things that way. So her first meeting with the Swamiji, that happened in 1895 November, and that's when her life started to change, because when she was growing up, she at the age of 17 she already graduated from her university. She became a teacher and was teaching, but at the same time she was also trying to do some work for the society, community service in the churches and all those things, but her mind was still not sure as to which path to follow, the religious path of Christianity. Somehow she became a little bit skeptical about the truth, and she was really searching for what is the reality, the real truth. Nothing satisfied, because she was a very intellectual minded person. So in 1895, the first time she came in contact with Swamiji, and this is a very well-known incident that Lady Margeson, who was an aristocrat in England at that time, she had invited Swamiji to give a talk, and Swamiji was by that time very well-known in Britain because of Swamiji's famous lecture in Chicago and traveling all over United States, the cyclonic monk. So when he was invited to England, he came and he delivered many lectures on Vedanta philosophy. And Lady Margeson knew a little bit about the inklings of Margaret Noble. She used to write in the local papers and all those things. So she said, well, why don't you come and attend the lecture when we have another viewpoint on religion? And that's how she came. So it was a small gathering, 15, 16 people came, and that's the first time when she came in contact with Swami Vivekananda. There were 15, 16 people. Swamiji, very poised, serene, calm, very impressive, and they all listened to, but while he was talking, he was in the middle, would sometimes would say Shiva, Shiva, and she would recite some Sanskrit mantras from Gita or Upanishad in a very nice musical tone, like the Gregorian tone that is sung in churches. And he tried to explain the thoughts that are there. At the end of the meeting, most of the people, they say, well, they're like, we have heard it before, nothing new. So as they were parting and telling the landlady, the host. But later on, as she was pondering over the talk, that week she said, no, we really cannot discard the things this gentleman propounded in such a simple way, because there were some new ideas, and she more gave a thought to it, and it said, yes, in 1 hour, this gentleman expounded these thoughts so clearly, so nicely, all the great things, all the best things that I have thought of, just composed in a nice way. So she said, well, I'm interested in going, whatever he has to say. So Swamiji gave 2 more lectures, and she attended both of them, November. And she tried to assimilate the idea that Swamiji was giving in those lectures. Swamiji returned back to USA. Again, he came back second time in April of 1896, and he gave a few more lectures. During this time, Sister Nivedita, I should not say, this time she was still Margaret Noble. So she attended all those things. This was a much more rigorous training, 4 or 5 lectures per week, plus on Friday there used to be question and answer. And she was a very meticulous student, very meticulous. She would write down her own notes. At the end, she will have questions always. So Swamiji answered them as much as possible. So this was the encounter with Swamiji, and as I said, the effect was everlasting, because she found that Swamiji addressed some of the questions that she had in her mind, and she wanted to follow this Swami. Now, Swamiji's call was that we need some man-making. We don't need money or anything. We need some character, people of character. And that's the only essential thing that we need in people. And the people who can sacrifice their lives for the sake of service of humanity. And this was a big call. But these things really impressed her also very much. Now, when she was growing up as a teenager, another thing that I found in her life, that she, being dissatisfied with the ideas, she went into looking for some other things, and she picked up a book on Buddha. Somehow, think about it, Buddha's life. For 3 years she was studying the life of Buddha and what are his teachings, and that she said there is something new in there. But if you also know that Swami Vivekananda, when he was growing up, he had in his own room, he said that he had a vision, somebody materialized, and that was the vision of Buddha. So I am thinking, this is some kind of a predestined thing, that this Buddha appeared, Buddha's book came to Sister Nivedita, thousands of miles apart. And if you think about that preordained things in life, maybe there was one. Also, when Sister Nivedita was growing up, her father being a priest, he used to get some visitors. And one day, one visitor came and he said, well, looking at the little girls, looks like you will have a calling in future. Looks like India needs you. Think about this. And she immediately went to the room to look for in the map of the world, where is India? So she looked for that. Yeah, so this is the... And of course, her father died at a very early age of 34. But before he died, he told his wife that when Margaret grows up, let her spread her wings, because she has a calling, and don't stop her. So these are some of the things you think about it. these things did happen. And she was always thinking, there will be a call for me in future. And that call came actually when Swamiji came, and he said, I want to serve this man. Whatever he is saying, I'm going to follow that path. But Swamiji didn't want her to come to India just like that, even though she was eager. Swamiji knew how difficult for a lady who is growing up in a Western country to come to India, and the kinds of things that he is going to do, the sacrifice. The culture is different, the food, the habit, the climate, the extreme heat. All these things, so much different. And those of you who have traveled to India, many of Indians, of course, you know that. Many of the Westerns, maybe you have visited, how different it is. What kind of a shock, cultural shock you get when you visit there. And we're talking about 150 years ago, 100. So think about how India was at that time. So Swamiji knew and appreciated that if she has to go, she has to be ready. And Swamiji didn't want to give her wrong impressions that go there and then all that thing. So she was still thinking what to do and what not to do. And Swamiji had already gone to India, but she was in correspondence with Swamiji. So she was thinking that maybe I will go and follow Swamiji's path. Particularly, Swamiji wanted somebody of her characteristics to go to India and educate the women in India. That he found, Swamiji, that education for women is very important. Without that, a society or a country cannot really rise. You think about 50% of the population in society are women. And if you keep them degraded without education, how? It is just like a bird flying on one wing. So he wanted that, and he was looking for that, and I think he was thinking of Sister Nivedita, Margaret at that time, that this might be the right kind of person, but he did not want to force her to do anything. And from India, one time, there was a little bit of a cholera spread or somewhere in the Calcutta area. So Swamiji had organized from his group, let's do the service of the people who are suffering, because that was one of the things. So he did a lot of those things at that time, and that was publicized. So Nivedita knew about it. She publicized that in England through pamphlets that there is a great work being done by this organization. Please help, irrespective of religion, they are doing it. Whether you are Christian, Muslim, Hindu, it does not matter. They are serving the people, please give money. So she raised some money and sent some money. And Swamiji at that time wrote back to her that whatever you are doing in England, maybe that is good enough for me. That means Swamiji was telling that maybe you don't have to come. So she was in doubt. So Swamiji, tell me. Then she wrote back immediately. Tell me, do you want me to come to India? At that time, Swamiji from Almora, this is a letter that I'm going to read a little bit from there. Very important, the way. You might have seen it. Swamiji wrote to Margaret from India, let me tell you frankly that I am convinced that you have a great future for the work for India. What was wanted was not a man, but a woman, a real lioness to work for Indians, women especially. India cannot yet produce great women. She must borrow from other nations. Your education, sincerity, purity, immense love, determination, and above all, the Celtic blood make you just the woman wanted. See, Swamiji's observation of Margaret is so accurate. I mean, you had to look at the genius of this man, that he knew exactly what is the characteristic of this person. And out of this thing, when I was reading that, I said, this is interesting. above all, the Celtic blood. Now we know, live in New England, Celtic is a very famous thing. We have Celtic steam. And I said, what is? Celtic is the people of the ethnicity of Irish, Gaelic, Scottish, all these things. But one of the very characteristic of this nation, these ethnic people, is the fiery spirit in them, the lioness, the true lioness. And this is the aspect that impressed me more when I read the letters of Sister Nivedita. I say, this is something. So I'm going to concentrate on that aspect because that is a very important thing. So I'll give you some examples of the things when she decided to go to India and all those things that happened, how she came. They are there, and maybe we can go over those things chronologically. She met Mother Sarada. She was given the option to give a lecture in the Star Theatre and all those things. But so let me give you some of the lioness characteristic of this woman, which she, when she was serving India, she used them. And that is something that for me, I think is very relevant. But before she went to India, of course, Swamiji had given her some very strong assurance because she was still had trepidations whether to go or not. So on the July 29th, 1897, from Almora, Swamiji wrote to Margaret, "You must think well before you plunge in. And after work, if you fail in this or get disgusted, on my part, I promise you, I will stand by you unto death. Whether you work for India or not, whether you give up Vedanta or remain in it, the tusks of the elephant come out but never go back. So are the words of a man never retracted. I promise you that." So this solid assurance from Swamiji, and she had seen how strong this man in his character was, the truth that he believed in, that gave her the strength that yes, I should go to India and so. And it was a very big jump for her, but she went. And the tusk of the elephant come out but never go back. There is a Hindi proverb like a hathi ke daant, mard ki baat. The word of a man and hathi ke daant, they are the same way. You never retract. Once it comes out, it must stay. You must follow your words. So when she went to India, the introduction and all those things that happened, I'm going to skip over those things because those things many of you already. A couple of the examples of the true lioness that really impressed me so much, that this lady came from a foreign land, went through so much sacrifice to become like a Hindu woman. I mean, the initial training and all those things, sleeping on the floor, mattress, nothing. I mean, shivering in the cold or the extreme heat, didn't matter. She was so dedicated. That's why her name was called, Nivedita means dedicated. And she was really dedicated to every word, to every sense of the word. So this is a couple of the examples that I have picked up from here. It was October 1902. And again, you remember, Swamiji passed away July 4th, 1902. She had come to India in February of 1902 after going back second trip. And only a few months passed after that. This was such a big shock. It was a big shock for everybody. Swamiji was the lifeblood of that whole organization, and he's gone. She wept, cried. But she didn't have time to mourn. Because she said, no, Swamiji has entrusted me with some work, I better get to work. So she started working right from there. So there was no mourning. And this is another thing, you look at the character of this woman. Say, you better get to work. She had taken the job of making India a country strong in itself, self-confidence, and improving, making an image for itself in the world, which India was. So they want to get back her backbone. So this is one of the incidents in October 1902. She was invited to go to a college in Nagpur. Morris College presided over a meeting and a prize distribution ceremony. And she found out it was a prize distribution ceremony for a cricket game. Now, this is a cricket game. So anyway, she did the job for which she came, but after the prize distribution, she said, if you had told me that it was going to be a cricket game prize distribution, I probably would not have come. But anyway, since I am here, this is October, the time for Dasera, which is the time for worship of Goddess Durga, Goddess of power. You guys should be demonstrating some activity. This is the capital. See, this Nagpur also is the capital of Maharashtra at that time, of Bhosle kings. Show me some demonstration of heroic feats of the Marathas. So you got to show me sword fencing, wrestling, do some of the things, indigenous things to the country. She didn't want you to be copying some English game and then rejoice at those things, he said. So she stayed overnight and met them. So, tomorrow you better show me some demonstration of all. Now the students did not know at that time, so anyway, somehow they managed to get together and do something. So she was happy that yes, you can do that thing. And she said, you continue to do those things. Build your own muscles. Try to be proud of your own culture and heritage rather than copying somebody from outside. So she went. Then, summer 1903, there is an incident that happened in Midnapur. Midnapur is the town that I actually come from in India. So Midnapur is very famous also because the freedom fighting movement that was going on, a lot of the leaders were from Midnapur and a lot of the things were happening there. So she was invited to come there, but when she landed from the train, the young generation, 16, 17, 18, they were enthused about her coming because they knew that she had that nature and she is trying to help them also for India's freedom at that time. So, but they said, hip hip hooray, they shouted. So thought that a lady from Ireland would like to have that. She said, stop, don't. She said, what is the matter? This is a victory shout of the British people. You should not be shouting that, hip hip hooray. You're just copying again, hip hip hooray. Do something like, Wah Guru ki fateh, Bol Babuji ki khalsa. Something that is inherent within you guys. Don't just copy the thing, hip hip hooray and all those things. That is not your native thing. You have to be proud in your own. So she gave a speech after that thing, and a lot of people came at the meeting. But when she started to prepare for the lecture, what she did was, it was a very hot day, and she took from her bedding or something a little piece of cloth mattress, spread over that thing, and said, I'm going to sit down. Kantha. Kantha is a quilted thing. So she said, there is no time here for luxury. the people who want to be free, no luxury befits them. I want that you learn how to sacrifice and take the trouble, all the sufferings. Only through that you can make the country independent. When she started to talk like that thing, India was still under British rule, and they were particularly very strong against anybody who was trying to create any problem for the British government. So a lot of people from the crowd started to leave the meeting. And one retired government employee, he came and told Margaret that if you talk like that, many people, and she looked at, he said, don't try to frighten me. I still have the blood of an Irish woman, country, a free nation. So I will do. If people are scared, I am not talking to those people, they can leave. So think about the fiery nature. And she continued on that, and she gave lectures for 5 days, they are different lectures, but this is the spirit that she was demonstrating. You don't be afraid. And there was another, this is interesting, 11th February 1905, Lord Curzon was giving a convocation speech in Calcutta at the University of Calcutta. Convocation, when the diplomas are awarded, the convocation is there, and some chief guest, like big shot from the society, is invited. So Lord Curzon was giving a talk at that time. And in one of his sentences there, he says, truth was given a higher place in the moral codes of the West before it was similarly honored in the East. Now think about this. He is telling, this is one of the things they always did, is to show you down. You didn't have any of the good things. It came only from us. That was very insulting. Many of the educated people and the academicians, they knew this is not true, because we know that India had the tradition of the truth and all that thing for a long time. Ramayana, think about it. The whole of Ramayana is what? It is just the truth. That King Dasaratha had made a promise to his queen that I will give you this thing, and he kept that promise. Even for that, he had to lose his life. Ramachandra went to forest just to see. All this sacrifice, the entire thing is for the sake of truth. And here this man is telling that we had, these higher ethical senses. So the next day, she was very much disturbed, because all these educated people, nobody protested against that thing, and she felt bad. Next day, she took Gurudas Banerjee, another academician, and she said, hey, come here with me. Let's go to Imperial College library. There was a big library in which she took out the book written by Lord Curzon. And there was, in that book, he had given false statements, on his given false statements about his age and marriage to the president of the Korean foreign official to get his favors. And he said, look, this is the man who is talking about truth and honesty, and he himself has done this thing. So on 13th of February, Amrita Bajar Patrika, one of the papers published from Calcutta at that time, published the excerpts from the Curzon's letter and lecture and portion of his book side by side. So they said, well, this is what he has written in his book, and this is what he is giving you the lecture about, exposing the untruth about his own character. Statesman's another paper also published the same thing. So the whole country learned about this scandal, and it became a big thing for that. See, these guys, they talk all these untruthful things in this. On 14th of February, Margaret, or Sister Nivedita, quoted from Ramayana and Mahabharata and Puranas how truth was valued in India, and how for thousands of years we have been doing it. So this is nothing new. Okay. This is another incident that Dinesh Chandra Sen was a literary, he wrote the history of Bengali literature, but that was in Bengali. So Nivedita, of course, was helping him to translate and edit the book in that form. So this gentleman and another Swami, another Ganen Maharaj was there, and one afternoon in Bagh Bazar area they were taking a stroll, so three of them, and what happened was a bull came. You know, in India you find the bulls coming on the streets quite a bit, went back and forth, go there. Dinesh Babu was in the front, so as soon as he saw the bull coming, he fled. Yeah. So Sister Nivedita was in the front at that time, so that became a little bit famous. You never this thing to happen to a lady when you are a man, at least you do that. So Ganen Maharaj came from behind, and he somehow managed that thing. So the next day, when Dinesh Chandra Sen came, he said, Dinesh Babu, you really set an example for the masculinity in India. She said, you should be ashamed. Think about it. Yeah, even though, I mean, Sister Nivedita would not say those things with any kind of a vengeance and thing in a loving way, but this is the characteristic, the true spirit of the lioness. Also, she encouraged India's indigenous resources and his own heroes and heroines so that you can respect them. It is not that you worship others. You don't see. One time she had in her girls' school asked the students, who is the Queen of India? And most of the students at that time answered Queen Victoria, because Queen Victoria was the Queen of England at that time. She said, Queen Victoria looked at that. Yeah. No, give me the answer correctly. Think about it. Nobody could do that. She said, Sita. Sita is the Queen of India, the eternal Queen of India. Queen Victoria is not. So this is the kind of spirit that she endowed the people in her teaching and all those things. So this is, I thought that her life really, this aspect is so fascinating. I don't know what is our time. I think we, huh?
By 6 we were to finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. That's why I found some people are kind of getting out. I said maybe I'm trying to create some. So I will finish. Her life is really fascinating. There were not too many books written on her life, but now so many books have come. Lok Mata is a big volume that Shankar Prasad has created. If you find, you can read that. And another book that you, Swamiji, also you referred me, I found that book is also very interesting, very short it is there. And that I carry with me. You know. But some of the things that Sister Nivedita regarding Swamiji, see, India was Swamiji's greatest passion. India throbbed in his breast. India beat his pulses. India was his daydream. India was his nightmare. And so her writings really was an encouragement for many of the people who fought for the freedom of India. And that is one of the things that I find is a big contribution of Sister Nivedita that India has not recognized in proper way. Not the proper way. Okay. And finally, let me give you one more quote from, just to conclude because we are running over time. The truth he preached would have been as true had he never been born. Nay, more, would he have been equally authentic. The difference would have lay in their difficulty of access, in their want of modern clarity and incisiveness of statement, and their loss of mutual coherence and unity. Had he not lived, texts that today will carry the bread of life to thousands might have remained the obscure disputes of scholars. He taught with authority and not as one of the pandits, the bookish knowledge. For he himself had plunged to the depths of the realization which he preached, and he came back like Ramanuja, only to tell its secrets to the pariah, the outcast, and the foreigner. So these were some of the things. I mean, her life is full of all these kinds of brilliant things that one should read and study and find out more things about her. I would conclude at this time. Thank you for your patience. I am a little bit sorry about the overtime. Didn't look at it. There should have been an alarm or something. But she contributed in many.
It was her fault, Nivedita's fault.
There are many contributions that I had here, but anyway, time is short, and let us all. What is our next agenda?
Have a concluding song.
Concluding song. Oh, okay.
And then there will be Shivanam Sankirtan. Many thanks, Tridib, and we heard these wonderful talks about Swami Vivekananda. Both of these speakers were really, they have brought out important features of Swamiji's teachings, and we conclude the meeting with the closing song, and then after that our regular closing prayer and announcements. For the closing song I invite Swapnil, and the accompanists Taposh Talukdar and Abhijit Adak. This song is in Hindi. It speaks about the Swami Vivekananda's being the shining sun of discernment, that Viveka Bhaskara, that he is like the sun of this shining sun of the power of discernment between, it's like the what is right, what is not right, what is true, what is not true, and beautifully worded other messages. So it is just there is no particular title as such. It is the refrain is Jaya Jaya Swami Vivekananda. Whatever you say, it is. You want to make him sing from the temple or Symposium?
Well, we get a better control over.
Jaya Jaya Swami Vivekananda, Jaya Jaya Swami Vivekananda, Jaya Vireshwara.
That's okay, that's okay.
Jaya Jaya Swami Vivekananda, Jaya Jaya Swami Vivekananda, Jaya Vireshwara Brahmahar Bhaskar Ashutosha Shiva Jaya Sukha Kanda, Jaya Jaya Swami Vivekananda, Vibhuvan Pavana Naranarayana, Vimal Bodha त्रिभुवन पावन नर नारायण विमल बोध गण ब्रह्म परायण भव भयवारण जगदुद्धारण भव भयहारण जगदुद्धारण नित्य मुक्त जय गत भव बंद जय जय स्वामी विवेकानंद। युगनायक युग धर्म सहायक चित्त प्रकाशक शुभमतिदायक युगनायक युग धर्म सहायक चित्त प्रकाशक शुभमतिदायक मोह पुंज हर मोक्ष विधायक मोह पुंज हर मोक्ष विधायक वीर धीर निर्भय स्वच्छंद जय जय स्वामी विवेकानंद जय जय स्वामी विवेकानंद। निद्रित चित्त प्रबोधनकारी मुग्ध जीव जड़ता परिहारी निद्रित चित्त प्रबोधनकारी मुग्ध जीव जड़ता परिहारी राम कृष्ण लीला सहचारी राम कृष्ण लीला सहचारी नाश करो प्रभु भव दुख द्वंद जय जय स्वामी विवेकानंद जय जय स्वामी विवेकानंद जय जय स्वामी जय जय स्वामी जय जय स्वामी विवेकानंद।
Thank you, Swapnil, Arunim, and what did you say? Swapnil, Arunim, Abhijit, and Taposh. Wonderful, thank you. And let us now conclude with the closing prayers. Before that, let me give you now the lecture of now there will be no further lectures in January. So we will have to, next Sunday will be in February. So I don't see the February flyer kept here. Huh? You got it? Okay. There will be some lecture in February. Thank you, thank you. You rose to the occasion. Very resourceful, very good. So I will keep it here. You pick another one. The topic for discussion is addiction to doubting. We know many addictions, but then addiction to doubting can be a big impediment in spiritual life. So I will discuss that. The other programs during the week will go on as usual, the Tuesday and Friday classes at 7:30 p.m. Tuesdays the topic is Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play, and on Fridays it is Shvetashvatara Upanishad. other meditation, daily meditations and all will continue as usual. So let us say the closing prayer. Yeah, that will be there, yeah. Yeah, long meditation on Saturday, yeah. February 2nd, yeah. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. This celebration of Swami Vivekananda's birth anniversary will now conclude with Shivanam Sankirtanam. Swami Vivekananda was many times alluded as, even in this song, the Shiva incarnate. Shiva was kind of his prominent nature. There are many incidents depicting that. So we, on this day, recite these 80 verses bringing out the nature of Shiva. You are welcome to join in this singing. It will be displayed and the tune is being repetitive, all of you can join.